keep in mind when you reach out to legislators, please remember what the bill number is. They deal with a high volume of legislation. So coming up in this next long session, we're going to have about 2,800 bills. So if you're saying, oh, it's the one about housing, it's going to be challenging. But if you say, oh, it's House Bill 123, that immediately cuts through some additional research they need to do. Secondly, if you are talking with staff instead of the elected, please treat them with respect. Staff are incredibly important to legislators. They are empowered to speak for them, and it is not a slight if you end up speaking with staff instead of the elected. They are a valuable resource when our legislators are overworked, and they are bright, smart people. So, let's see, you have your public hearing, you have a work session. A work session at the state legislature is the opportunity for a vote. If your bill is posted for a work session, the committee may vote on your bill, may advance it out of committee. Once a bill is advanced out of committee, it will have an analysis that occurs about whether or not that bill will cost the state any money. If the bill is deemed to maybe cost the state money, it will go to the Joint Ways and Means Committee. So that's what this is, so the money question, or to the chamber floor. Because of time, I will abbreviate this and say, let's say the bill does not have an analysis that may cost the state money. Then it will go from, let's say it's a House bill, it will go from the House committee to the House floor. Now all 60 members of the House are going to vote on your bill. Let's say things go well, it will go over to the Senate, and the whole process starts over again. The Senate President will refer it to a committee. It will get a public hearing in that committee. It will have a work session and a vote in that committee. It will then go to the Senate floor where 30 members of the Senate will vote on that bill. And if the bill passes the Senate in the same form it passes the House, it will then go to the governor's desk for signature. So that is the process in a nutshell. Then your bill has become a law and will get incorporated into the order of revised statutes and will become a statute. A couple quick resources before we turn things over and transition to our panel conversation. The Oregon legislature has some fantastic online resources. OregonLegislature.gov, that's where you can do the find out who represents me. They also have a great tab for citizen engagement. They also have a link to the Oregon Legislative Information System. This is the catch-all for information. Lobbyists use it, members of the public use it. It is very accessible. If you can't be in Salem in person, it allows you to stream hearings in real time. It allows you to go back and watch those hearings. You can track bills, you can track what legislators are up to, what committees are up to. It is a fantastic resource, and if you're interested, I highly encourage you to spend a little bit of time just exploring that website and that resource. And it will change a little bit once the legislature goes live on January 22nd. So stay at it. Okay, that's the foundation. Thank you for your patience with me. And at this point, I'm going to invite our panelists up and to have a seat up here, and we are going to have a moderated conversation, and we're going to hear about actually how all of this gets implemented on the ground, right? This is the academic baseline, and now we're going to hear from our elected leadership. So joining us this evening, to my immediate left is Representative Diego Hernandez. He's the youngest member serving the Oregon legislature, representing Oregon's House District 47 and which comprises of outer East Portland. By the age of 25, he was the first Latino elected to the Reynolds School Board and is currently serving his second four-year term on the board. Representative Hernandez is a former community organizer, educator, nonprofit, executive director. He is also the co-founder of Momentum Alliance, an innovative youth-based nonprofit dedicated to developing next generation of intersectional social justice leaders. Graduate of Reynolds High School, he worked his way through college and pursued a BA in political science and ethnic studies from the University of Oregon and a master's in social work from BSU. To his left Senator Michael Denbrough is a state senator for District 23, covering portions of northeast and southeast Portland and the city of Gateway Park. He's a retired English instructor at Portland Community College's Cascade campus in North Portland. He taught writing and film studies at the college beginning in 1981 and served as president of the PCC faculty meeting for 16 years. In addition to his services in the Oregon legislature, Senator Denbrough also serves on the Workforce Investment Board, Youth Conservation Corps Advisory Committee, and the Oregon Commission on Asian and Pacific Islander Affairs. Earned his undergraduate in English from the University of Connecticut and master's in comparative literature from Indiana. And last but certainly not least is Jenny Lee. She's the advocacy director for the Coalition of Communities of Color. Originally from Beaverton, Jenny came to the coalition from neighborhood partnerships, where she helped convene the Oregon Housing Alliance, engaging coalition members and partners throughout the state to help develop state legislative priorities to ensure all Oregonians have access to safe and decent housing. And prior to that, she worked as the public policy director for Hawaii Appleseed in Honolulu, where she engaged in coalition building, legislative advocacy, policy research on a range of issues, including economic justice, housing, public assistance, education, and immigrant rights. She holds a JD from Harvard Law School and a BA in philosophy from the University of Oregon. Please help me welcome this fantastic panel. Okay, I have my questions here. There we go. Let's start with the basics. This is for overwhelming representatives who can kick us off. What are, for someone who wants to start lobbying at the state legislature and is getting introduced to this process, what are some golden rules and maybe some pitfalls to avoid?
All right, I would start off with not reinventing the wheel. Rather than trying to master it all, there are people out there that know that you could go to and delegate tasks to, and that should be hopefully your elected officials. So let's say you have a problem and you've identified that it's within the jurisdiction of the state to address that issue, or that issue is caused by a certain law or rule within state law. So you hit up either your state representative or your state senator and you ask them, all right, I have this problem, I need these specific answers. Could you ask the Legislative Research Office, which are experts within the legislature that will look into the topic, will look at historical context, will look at what current statutes or rules are there already, and what potentially could be the cause of the problem. And so you then get that email back or phone call back from probably somebody of that representative or senator's office with the details that they have found in terms of the problem that you asked. It's better than you trying to do, you go ahead and do your own research if you want. But there are folks out there who are going to do it for you. I have a lot of constituents who reach out. Either they have issues with the Department of Employment or Department of Human Services, and they come to me with an issue, and I do the research for them, and I get back to them. And sometimes it culminates to the point where we do need to address it through a bill.
Yeah, so let me just start off by thanking you all for coming. This Portland Community College campus is right in the heart of the district that I represent, Senate District 23. So you are right now you're sitting in the best district in the state. And let me just ask, I'm sorry, I'm going to break the rules. So I just want to get a sense of what people are really interested in here. And let me say, just to back up, I know the goal of this ultimately is to help inform City Council on what they should put on their legislative priority list, which we welcome. We really look forward to when we, the Portland area legislators, sit down with the city commissioners and the city auditor is usually part of that, and different staff, to hear what they would like us to be really focusing on. And it's really gratifying to me to see that a lot of that agenda comes sort of from the ground up in forums such as this, because that's the way it's supposed to work. And I know it's true for Diego, it's true for me that many, if not most, of the ideas that we have for bills really come from constituents and from the ground up. Well, actually, let me ask this. So, how many of you are here particularly because you have an interest in education? But I asked that first because we're on a college campus. I want to see your hands. Okay. How about housing? Okay. Healthcare? Transportation? Okay. The environment? Okay. What are some of the other big ones?
Changing laws.
Changes in laws in general.
Livability.
Great. How about fix the city? No, that's not. So, it's really important for us when we are hearing from constituents. And let me just separate first, what Diego talked about in terms of people having problems with state government or state agencies contacting our offices. That is an incredibly important thing for you to do. And it's a really important part of our job is to solve problems. And we really do welcome that. But sometimes those problems do lead to legislative advocacy where, ultimately the only way to really fix this problem is through legislation or through really increasing a budget in order to be able to address the issue. And so how can you be most effective? And I would say that the first thing is to develop in some way a personal relationship with the legislator that you're reaching out to. Okay? So if you're a constituent of mine, if you live in Senate District 23, you're automatically going to have a relationship, right? Because I represent you. To a certain extent, I represent everybody in the state, but I have a particular obligation to my constituents. And if you reach out to me and you're not a constituent, I might steer you towards your own senator or representative. Having said that, in the Senate, I chair the Environment and Natural Resources Committee. So if you have a particular, if your issue is related to that directly, then it does make sense for you to reach out to my office. I'll probably want to also connect you to your own legislator so that we can potentially work as a team. If, through some miracle, your own representative or senator is from the opposite party, which if you live here in the metro area, the odds of that are pretty small. But if that were the case, or if you had some kind of connection with someone from the other party, I'm a Democrat, so if you had a connection with someone who's a Republican, that would be really good because when you can get support from both parties, it really does, it's not essential, it's not necessary, but it really improves the chances of the passage. And so maybe it's someone that you know from a friend of a friend or through work or some other connection. You can have that kind of personal connection, it really does help. So most of the lobbying that happens, I will say unfortunately, happens down in Salem itself, when the legislature is in session. And I say unfortunately because during that time, our time is really limited. And we generally, if we're having meetings with constituents, they're going to be limited to about 15 minutes. And often those meetings include, like a half dozen people, because you're coming as a group. And that is really challenging. So I always encourage people, if possible, to meet with me in district. I mean, here on home turf, where I might be able to give you more time and attention, more focus. But if you are coming into the legislature, if you can, really have something to make that encounter memorable, that will really help. And what will make it memorable will be, of course, to some extent, the issue itself and the importance of the issue. But maybe even more so, what's going to make it resonate is going to be if you can put some kind of personal